Philip, what's unique about South American ferro metals?
I think, David, one of the headliners for us is, and we put it on our title slide, we are the only Australian company that's actually producing iron ore in Brazil. In spite of being a huge iron ore country, Australia, and in spite of the fact that Australians mine successfully all over the world, the second biggest camp for iron ore is Brazil, and we're the only one in it.
And what is the attraction of Brazil?
Look, I could go for hours, David. Brazil suits us socially, commercially. Technically, over a third of the country is not explored, simply not explored.
Unexplored.
Unexplored. But socially, they've got in the last 10 years, very stable social program. People are becoming becoming wealthier, better educated, so the workforces are stable. They come in with a high morale, a sense of positive attributes. It also works from us in terms of logistics. When we start expanding the operation from 1.5 million tons up to 8, there are sufficient rails, ports, transfer facilities to take our ore overseas, or at least half of our ore overseas. So technically it works for us, socially it works for us. It's got all growth potential that we need.
Can you give me an overview, please, of the company's assets?
Yes, absolutely. Currently, we own 100% of the Ponta Verde mine site, and that's where we focus a lot of our attention now. It's our organic growth. That's where our positive cash flow comes from. We are currently looking at other sites in Brazil. None of them are finalized or confirmed, so we're sort of not at liberty really to start using specifics. But we currently work off the core Ponta Verde. We believe in the next 12 to 18 months we'll add one or two more advanced projects to the Brazil slate. And then outside of that, we have a head office in Belo Horizonte, which is about 45 minutes drive north of the mine site, Ponta Verde, and we have our corporate head office in Sydney.
Now, you're next to Vale. What are the benefits or problems with being beside such a giant?
David, a very well phrased question, and I think it's safe to say there are both. Obviously, being next to Vale, it's helpful in that that's a very mature mining company with a mining culture, and they've been mining throughout the world, let alone Brazil, obviously intimately. When we have to do shared agreements of technical data, which is drill data, hydrology data, etc., there's a very organized system that you can speak to, and you can have these sane discussions. The difficulty with Vale is they do pose a shadow of sorts. They're very large. If we do need to do work with them, recently we've had to sort out some surface rights issues, and there was no contest in them, and we're all agreed and aligned on. But just purely to move through the system and get things signed, it has a pace all to its own of a big company. So we do work closely with them technically and on some of the legal and land issues. Very cooperative, very supportive. They certainly are trying to support and help us, but their systems can be a little slow. So it's got a bit of both sides of the sword.
And for your company, what are the key catalysts the value catalysts over the next 6 to 12 months?
Look, David, fantastic question. Something really worth focusing on. I state quite clearly that we've got a strong treasury, good bank balance. We are currently operationally cash flow positive, which is excellent. But this takes a material uplift for us in the next 6 to 8 months. This month in May, we're commissioning our first concentrator. So it takes what has been otherwise a waste product or a tailings product, and we further concentrate that to make a very valuable, a 64 or 65% iron product. There's quite a bit of competition to purchase that, and the price is subsequently quite good, and the margin very high. So that gives us a real commercial uplift in the immediate future, next month or so, May to June. And then again, we are studying doing a second stage of this concentration. It has similar economics. That could be, provided the study is successful, which we believe it will be, and then we construct. It's a very simple plant. That could be in operation in January next year, earliest. That would then lift us again in cash flow. So really, in the short term, it's a two-step process to really improve the overall economics.
So in succinct terms, why should people invest in South American ferro metals?
Talking to a guy who's running the company, obviously it's rose-colored glasses. Clearly, from our perspective, and some of those in the market who value us, we have three companies, Veritas, Alto Security, and Patterson, who monitor us very closely. our internal models, their models all say we're grossly undervalued. We're about a third of what we should be currently on the market today. That's relative to our resource and our potential reserve, and relative to a loosely put benchmark group. So that alone is just straight off the shelf value. The other value is a longer term value, provided you can understand the ore body being world class, and you can see these two stages of growth to 8 million tons and then 16 million tons throughput. Obviously you can see the value as well in excess of $5 to $6 a share.
And what's your access like to key infrastructure projects?
That's again, David, a great question. That is really a make or break for the expansion. It is one of the key focal areas for the definitive feasibility study. In the first stage expansion to 8 million tons, the product that we will sell will be about 6 million tons worth. That will likely go half domestic, which means it's got to go down highways, national highways, and to railheads, and the other half will have to go rail down to ports and overseas. It's about logistics and what the highways can handle. We're lucky. We've got about 4 kilometers to the west. We've got a national highway running right past us. It's quite a good network of highways that are available. Again, we have to be careful about heavy transport on those highways. I'm not sure that's a limitless resource. On the rail side, which would be critical for some of the domestic sales and the international sales, our nearest public rail line is 12 kilometers due east of us. So we can then tap into that rail line. It's got capacity on it for our ore. We tap in with agreement or otherwise, and we can start shipping immediately down to port. So the logistics, in a sense, are high leverage factor for us in our growth. Currently we sell at the mine gate, and that's sustainable indefinitely. But in the next 2 to 3 years, we'll be looking to move higher tonnages and getting at least half to export. And those logistics are critical. And we're lucky that we've got logistics right next door.
And Philip, if you could give us an overview of your board and management, please.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll deal with them in the reverse order. The management team consists of, and we use the word leadership team, but it's a management team by all rights. Of course, I head the management team up. It's a very lean, very simple, traditional management team. I have 5 direct reports. Very simply, a chief financial officer, a chief commercial officer, a chief development officer, projects officer, a chief operating officer. So, sorry, I misspoke myself. That's 4 direct reports plus myself. So the management team is 5 people. Pretty lean, pretty straight up. We will probably in the near term add a business development manager, but that's yet to be finalized. So it'll be a very small, functional team. The operation is extremely flat, or the company is extremely flat. There are 4 levels in total in the company, and our intention is to keep it that way as long as we can. The board emulates that. The board is relatively small right now, including myself as an executive director. There are 7 of us on the board in total. There are the 3 founding directors who sit in who sit in Sydney, plus our chairman, an independent, and then 2 of the directors that came through our reverse listing with Riviera Resources in late 2010. They sit in Perth. So the board itself is really well spread between financial expertise, technical. Got a couple of good entrepreneurs on the board, which keep me sharp and moving. Plus, our chairman, Terry Wilsteed, is extremely experienced. He's had over 40 years in the industry and really gives it that glue or that cohesion.
Philip, thank you.
Thanks very much. That's terrific. Cheers.